Today we're having a look at the Sony 24-70 F2.8 G Master Mark I here in 2023. We're going to figure out whether or not this thing is still a lens to consider. Does it still hold up even with the Mark II out? And is it worth buying? That's really what we're going to get to the bottom of. Here are some specs on this lens to get you going, guys. If you haven't seen one of my videos, my name's Stefan Malloch. I do a ton of videos just like this, so if you enjoy it, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and join the community. Who's this lens for? It's definitely a professional's lens. It's big, it's heavy, it's a masterpiece. It's a beautiful lens that we all know and love. A 24-70 focal length is just great for your standard shooting. And we're going to dive right into this thing, starting with the build and features. It's a Sony G Master lens, and that means quality. It's got some beef to it. It's quite hefty. It's well balanced though, and it feels really good in your hand. Obviously it does extend as you zoom. It goes from 24 all the way out to 70 here, and it's just got a really great rugged feel on it. So the size is decent, especially for considering when it came out and what's packed into this thing. The fast F2.8 is going to give you some just beautiful creamy backgrounds, which we'll get into here in a bit. But more on the physical aspects of this thing, there's really not much to it. You've got your zoom ring down here. You've got your focus ring, which is really nice feeling and accurate here at the top. And we've got a customizable focus hold button here, along with your automatic manual focus switch right there. So nice, easy access. We've also got a lock switch here to allow this thing to not creep on you if you're moving around. And in terms of buttons and switches, that's all you're getting. A lot more stuff on today's lenses, of course, the newer stuff, but it's got everything you need. And depending on what you do, it might have some stuff missing. No aperture ring on the Mark I here, but it is what it is. On the front here, we've got 82mm filter threads, nice and big, letting lots of light in there. On the back, we've got a nice metal mount with a little rubber gasket for confidence when it comes to weather sealing. And yeah, for the physical aspects of this lens, the build and the features, of course, it's not image stabilized, really well made. You can tell as soon as you pick it up. It does have some weight to it at just under 900 grams. Keep that in mind if you plan to do a lot of moving around with this thing. But in terms of build and features overall, it's a G Master, great stuff. I give it a solid 4 stars. And now let's have a look at the performance of this lens, and we'll start off with some photo examples. And this is such a great focal length to shoot just about everything. A standard focal length like a 24-70 is going to cover you in most shooting situations. With 9 aperture blades, it's going to produce some beautiful creamy out of focus backgrounds and transitions. And the overall image quality and character that you get with this lens is nothing short of what you'd expect out of a G Master. Amazing. At 70mm, it's enough to get some nice portraits and have some decent compression. At 24mm, it's wide enough to get some really nice and interesting landscape shots. Here's a look at the bokeh quality at 24mm wide open at f2.8, and here we are at 70mm. In terms of autofocus, it's going to be great for photos as well as videos. Now this lens does utilize Sony's older direct drive SSM autofocus motors, not the newer and faster linear XD motors that we're used to these days, but it does keep up phenomenally quick whether you're shooting with photos or videos. It's going to be lightning fast, accurate, and basically silent. Here's a few video examples. Throw an ND filter on and rest assured that this lens can give you some beautiful professional quality video. Even in low light wide open at f2.8, this thing tracks well and is confident in its accuracy. And now a look at the sharpness and optics of this lens, starting at 24mm wide open at f2.8. Center of the image is nice, it's strong performance here. As we get into the corners, we can see just a noticeable hint of softness on the sharp edges. Nothing too crazy. As we stop down to f4 here, we can see a noticeable improvement in that. And it's the same story all the way down to about f16, f5.6, looking very good. F8 looking pretty darn good, probably close to our best performance here. F11 here, we can start to notice maybe just a hint of degradation starting, and then again down to F16, still a completely usable image, just not its best performance. We can stop all the way down to F22. Once again, no deal breakers, but in the corners you will notice a little bit of softness to speak of. And here we are at 70 millimeters wide open here, f2.8. The center of the image is a great performance now, nice and sharp. As we get into the corners, you'll notice that it is a bit sharper than at 24 millimeters for me until the very corners. We'll notice a little bit of chromatic aberration on the hard edges, a little bit of softness. Stop down here to f4 to see that improve. And once again, down to f5.6 for a very good looking image now. So as we continue to stop down here, f8 looking good as well, down to f11, still nice. This is really sharp and a great performance across the board. And that's going to continue even here at f16, completely usable. And again, down to f22, if you ask me, completely fine still. So overall, for the sharpness and the optics of this lens, again, a few years old, not quite up to the standards, especially into the corners of today's lenses, but as a whole, a strong performance. And that goes for the lens's performance as a whole, taking into account image quality, autofocus, and everything in between. In that regard, I give this lens a solid 4 stars. And now let's touch on the value of this lens. It's important to understand that this lens was released quite a few years ago when there weren't so many options available. Now, having dropped since the Mark II is out, it's still a pricey lens. It's nothing compared to the Mark II at $2,300 US. And if you are able to find this lens secondhand, that would definitely be the route that I'd go considering what's available. We've got things like the Sigma Art, Tamron's offerings, and even now Samyang and whatnot jumping into the arena with some fantastic options for the price. Still a great lens in its own right, but definitely missing some of today's bells and whistles. In terms of value, I give this lens 3 stars. Wrapping up, my friends, as always, here's my personal pros and cons for this lens. Being a bit dated now with so many great options available, it is a little bit hard for me to recommend this lens unless you find it for a great price. That's really what it's going to come down to, is the value, and it's got a lot of competition. You know that I like to rate things on a scale from never think about again to consider to definitely buy. When it comes to this lens at its full normal price, I would have to pass, but it would be a consideration if you could pick it up for a screaming deal.
So there you go, guys. There's my thoughts on the original Grandmaster, the 24-70 f2.8 G Master from Sony here. It is a fantastic lens, and I think if you can find this thing on sale or pick it up for a really good price, it's still going to serve you really, really well. If you really need something a lot smaller and lighter with all the bells and whistles, maybe consider checking out the Mark II. Again, I have a review on that as well as a comparison video on these two, so check those out if need be, guys. If you did want to pick this lens up, I'll drop affiliate links down below. Thanks so much for watching the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time.